Hello, my loves. Right, tonight we're going to do an interesting one, which is a topic that Jenny inboxed me about a while ago. And to be fair, it was just the middle of when I was going wild with Clifton Academy, so I inboxed her back, but I didn't do a live on it. So we're going to do a live tonight. We're going to discuss this topic, which is, it's really interesting. Should you try and just be a Zen master and be completely in control of all your mindset shit the whole freaking time and in all areas? Or is it okay to have a little area over here that you're not going wild at? And in fact, if anything, there's a load of triggers over here. So the example that Jenny gave, let me sort of paraphrase it. So we know that Jenny's had some issues with mums at school. So she had some mums at school who were hating on her for her aesthetics business. Drop us a 1 if you're watching live, and drop us some kind of like emoji if you've had similar things where people have hated on you for your aesthetics business. And actually, in the end, I'm sure for a combination of reasons, Jenny changed her daughter's school. So that kind of went away. But then the head honcho of the evil moms, I'm using those words, are in Jenny's daughter's ballet class. And so Jenny was saying to me, basically, is it okay to avoid certain situations and people? Avoiding certain situations and people works well for me. Is there something to be said for avoiding triggers so you can focus on what really matters? Should I woman up and face it? Perhaps eventually I won't feel anxious about sitting in the same room as I'm calling her evil mom, while your kids are in the classes. Do I need to have more self-confidence to know I deserve to be there too? And Jenny does know that. It's just a case of, bringing it to the surface. Should we all face our fears head on? When is there a time where it's better to walk away from a situation that isn't serving you or your mental health? Interesting. Right. So I'm intrigued. Do you think, I'm not at the end of my thinking with this. Do you think that we should kind of be pragmatic and pick our battles? Or do you think, let's say you come up against a tricky situation, should you always try and mindset it out and when I say win, I don't mean win against the evil mom, I mean win in your own mind so that you are peaceful in your own mind? For example, a salon manager is a dick to you or something.
Yeah, because really the battle isn't with the mum. The battle is internal, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's because, there's, I would trying to put it, like I'd say, trying to put it in a, what's the word? Anthropological, but understanding how humans work. That is a battle for status. Like not the kind of status that people, it's not like who's the most important. Well, it is kind of, but it's not like, it's not status in the 80s way that you spend all, shoulder pads and stuff. But that's what a lot of these clashes online, which people think are about issues, are really about status. And it's just that online it's so much clearer and so much more obvious because people don't hold back. So they immediately, come in under your post or under something you've said and try and knock your status and boost theirs. Like that's what's going on all the time. And I'd say there's an element of status clash going on with mums at school. There's probably a really massive part of it. It's amazing how many people that's a massive trigger for. I had a client who said I could share her story, and that was her nemesis, was getting her kids to school.
Yeah, there's a mindset warrior.
It was weird because I hadn't quite cognified that. I mean, because we were relatively new in this area and we don't know loads of people, although that's changing. But that going into the school gates and loitering around there is like really stressful situation for a lot of people, and it's because of this. I think it's because of this. I remember it being used about a discussion when I was reading about cars, and they were like, if you want to be top dog at the school gates, buy a Range Rover or something. But it's the school gates. It's like where you sit in your community. So it's really stressful because that's a place where you can lose status very easily. And I presume, but I'm aware the word status sounds like it, but I hope you guys understand. It's not status as we picture it. It's just that's humans. Like humans do like to know where everyone is in the pecking order, just like presumably birds who peck. So that's part of what's going on. But I don't think if you were, because I know that I wouldn't have that issue now today with the same type of person criticizing, but I probably would have had it 8 years ago. And the big thing is something around where, like, how you're framing this in your own mind, and whether you think there is something, because I've certainly had situations where I'm thinking, why am I so triggered by this? And the answer has been because I hadn't sorted myself out.
Sorted out what you thought of yourself.
What are my values? Who am I really? Like, there's an element when someone interprets your behavior as flawed, like you're only doing aesthetics for X, Y, and Z flawed reasons. Where if you haven't actually consciously decided exactly why you're doing it and are 100% consistent with it, it's more of a trigger. I'm not saying this about Jenny. If she was here, she'd almost certainly have all sorts of other bits that I haven't considered. It's too complex. But talking about it from my point of view, that would have been at the bottom of some of it, which is that I haven't actually written down what it is, and I haven't maybe even experienced it yet. I happen to know Jenny has, but, like, you know, that sense where you actually change someone's experience of life because of a treatment that you've done, it justifies why you're doing it to yourself. And then if some drunk guy, which I had, come and says, "Oh, you're only making money from insecurities," I'm like, whatever, mate. Like, you don't understand. You know, I actually don't even, I'm so oblivious. It goes off my, as my mom always says, off my back like duck's water. And it goes off my water like, off my big, because I know that arena, I know why I do it. And you're just some drunk guy who doesn't know what you're talking about. So if you can reach that stage, that's the holy grail. Now, I know it's more difficult than that, because who knows the angle of attack this person who has come in on. There are all sorts of ways that you can make issues with a GP who's doing aesthetics. Like, it's endless. But I would say the ultimate goal is that you're a little bit more unshakable in that area. But it would be great if we could get more details on it, and then you could know more about it.
But I think the challenge, because Jenny in the past has had someone in this evil mum brigade criticize it online. So it started offline at school gates, then it's come online, and almost like she's kind of sorted herself out with that and the initial surge, and now she's having and her daughter's in a different school anyway, but now she's kind of having the ricochet effect of, like, almost like she just doesn't want to go there. So do you allow yourself
go where?
To the place where the pain was.
But so she still feels under threat, like she may be blindsided by a comment halfway through the ballet lesson.
And the question is, this is very specific. It's like, do you allow yourself the luxury of just not even fucking going there? Just like, do you know what? If there's pain for me there, I'm just not going to go there. I'm going to avoid the trigger. Or is that detrimental to your confidence, because you're like, oh, I avoided it instead of tackling it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, your lizard brain is keeping count, as we always say. It's always keeping count. So you've shrunk back a little bit. That's not to say that it isn't always. It's not that you can't do it. There might be times where you're having 7 different battles anyway, so you don't want to make that the number one. But probably, if you won that battle, your other battles would look smaller as well. So I think ultimately, purely from a growing as a person type thing, yeah, you should try and take it on. But I also think it's forgivable not to. If you're pretty busy with other battles, you may not. But it's the kind of battle that will be won simultaneously without you trying as you win your other battles. I kind of feel like there's an element there's an element of, like I say, like, someone's going to criticize you for some reason, but if they come and criticize you on the day when you've transformed someone's face and their life and won an award and had all your colleagues congratulate you and all your clients say you're amazing, like, that woman's opinion is not going to matter that much. So there are different stages where it's more threatening than others. And, I'm really aware of that. In the early days, for me, criticism from my uncle was a bigger deal, way bigger deal than it would have been now. So there's different stages that you're at, and it's almost getting to know yourself and know your situation and feel more and more validated, that other people's validation of you in that realm just matters less and less.
What about someone like, because I put Jenny's concern was around the evil moms, but what about a salon manager as an example of someone who might criticize you, and it's going to probably be more complex because you do have to continue to interact with them. So do you just let it drop? Let's say, for example, the salon manager had a bit of a go because the commission that you pay her is not as good as her mate down the road. So she has a bit of a dig. Oh no. Let's do a real life example actually from when someone inboxed me. So it was ages ago. So let's say the salon manager criticizes you for not clearing up after yourself, but actually it wasn't you. And she's done it a couple of times, and actually you're thinking, come on, I told you it's not me. Like, just sort your shit out. Like, this is not appropriate for you to keep criticizing me. And you feel a bit put on. So do you go after that battle, or do you just zen it out and think, you know, I don't even care what she thinks anyway, so I'm just gonna, all right, I know she's wrong. I do care what she thinks, but I know she's wrong. Do you try and zen it out, or do you sort of be brave in every single situation?
Well, there's a practical element to that as well. So it depends on, so are you trying to get to a situation where it's purely mindset and it actually doesn't practically make much difference, and do you tackle it? Is that the scenario you're trying to get to? Or because the salon manager, that could have a practical outcome. If she thinks you're messing things up and you're not, like you need to sort that out. Otherwise there's an untruth that will play out in a way that isn't good for you. So you should,
maybe it's not a very good example, but
that's what I mean. Is the essence of your question is, there's a situation where you could ignore it and life would carry on the same, or you could use it as a chance to try and develop your mindset. And should you be trying to do that on all fronts all the time?
Yeah, not just an opportunity to develop your mindset, but I'm wondering whether if you neglect your mindset in one area, if you've got a dirty little secret where you're absolutely rocking it in all your mindset, but then you've got a dirty little secret over here in the corner about, and by dirty little secret, I mean about how you deal with the mindset. You let yourself get walked over, or you avoid a situation. What's funny?
I think you have an answer to this, which I was going to ask you instead of you asking me. I feel like the way you phrased that question makes me think you have a view on that, which I'm interested in.
Well, I try in all areas. I don't succeed in all areas. And I think actually, interestingly, as I was saying to you in the car earlier this week, I'm getting really good, like a Jedi Master, at dealing with bad states. But I am still, there are areas that I am not striving at, that I should be striving at. There's a whole
but is your philosophy that therefore that you should be striving in all areas? Like, it's not really about...
I don't know for sure. I mean, let me give you a practical...
Wait, when you call it a dirty little secret, like to me, that's instantly triggering that whole concept, which I really believe, which is the lizard brain is keeping count. Like, it's not saying that doesn't really count. It's like, it's -3 for that.
-3, Miranda.
And then, but then there is definitely this, because, you know, we've had this, we've noticed it lots of times. Like, you have a bad day and it's like everything's worse, or you have or you achieve something which is like, I had this really, it's actually really funny. Like, I've got some really big important stuff to do. I feel overwhelmed. I do some small shitty thing that's actually not related at all, and suddenly I'm like, I can do everything now. Like, because I swept the kitchen floor really well, and, you know, so bring on e-learning, whatever it is. And it's like, really? How? So, but there are certain acts you can do that empower you, and it's often nothing to do with how important the act is. It's more that you're doing something with intention. You're getting a result, and then you can do anything. So I would say the biggest trigger, probably just the fact that the question is being asked. There's a weight there in the back of my mind, like days before ballet practice.
Yeah.
And for that reason, it's probably, and this is also another thing which I find, it's actually quite depressing. You know, sometimes we have a board meeting, and the smallest little issue is like connected to 3 other things that's connected to some massive big problem. It's like this wormhole of like, you think it's just that simple thing, but it's not. It's actually connected to everything. And I think if you're having anxiety a couple of days before ballet practice, there's probably a problem in there that's worth solving, because it's probably connected to lots of other stuff. And when you solve that problem, you'll be like this domino effect, and several other things come into place, if it's that big.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, sort me out. So do I have to, is my instinct right that I should, I think the word is intention. It's like, I think in your house, you can have a pile of shame where there are some papers in there that you need to deal with. I mean, actually, I don't like piles of shame. I can't bear piles of shame. That's not a good example. But let's say that you could have in your house, we have a cupboard of shame where it's very unorganized, but it doesn't get me down. And I think as long as I don't intend a desire and set my goal towards that cupboard, if I was like, oh yeah, that really gets me down, and then I ignore it, I think that what you're saying is that weighs. But if you actually you do desire to smash the area of your life or stop,
but the essence there is like, is there a weight associated with that issue? If there really is a genuine, I mean, it might be a mild background sense, but like, you know, days go by where it pops into your head, you know, a couple of times a day, and you're like, oh, that situation. That's definitely where you should look to solve it. Because it's not. But yeah, I definitely agree with myself that it's probably more complex than just the person that you're dealing with. It'll be linked to all sorts of beliefs and status, like in the anthropological way, that you're worried about losing, and it'll just be more complex, which means face it full on, because if you're free from it in that situation, you'll probably be free from it in all sorts of situations. But I do understand it. Like I don't even know necessarily if it's but at the heart of it will be some sort of beliefs around, you know, like I've had this as well. Like, is it being a real doctor that you're doing aesthetics when they're not actually, you know? And I have sorted that out. But I remember, like, is it not? How does it all work? Do they have to have a complication before I can validate my other things? So there might be, it's that kind of issue that's sometimes at the bottom of it.
So maybe to come back to salon managers, to cap that off, you can be, if you just like, dude, it really doesn't bother me, like you have your little paddy over there, I'm fine, I know I'm fine, I know I cleared that, then that's okay to pick your battle and not go after her.
Yeah, but you'll probably feel that way naturally, like unless there's something in the bottom of it, you'll just think it, you know, it is like I said, like the drunk guy has a go, and I'm like, whatever, mate, you've got your opinion.
So you'll know whether you need to.
But if it stays on your mind for days afterwards, and you kind of feel uncomfortable thinking about it, well, it's a good guide actually. If there are emotions associated with the memory, then you've not entirely resolved it. So there's something that needs to be sorted out.
That's a good little guide, I think, isn't it? If it is weighing on your mind. But if you're like, whatever, then that's okay to pick your battles. I definitely think this whole phrase, pick your battles, actually, I live by this in lots of respects. We do this with each other, don't we? I think all partners do this, where you do just think, do you know what, that's not worth it, but this one needs sorting out. And I think that's a good, healthy mindset attitude. But I think what we've sorted out here is that you're saying, if it's weighing on you, if you're thinking about it, if you feel it takes something away from you, then you do need to either zen it out yourself and sort your own mindset and deal with it, maybe forgive them or whatever it is, or confront them and deal with it, or confront the issue, and like the rats that go up to the we've talked about a few times. I
was just thinking, when I was 17, I worked at McDonald's, and I remember this manager, Jocelyn, who was really awful to me over I can't remember what the issue was. It'd be better if I could remember exactly what it was. It was about I didn't turn up for a shift, but I'd swapped it with someone else, like legitimately done everything right myself. And then the person who was supposed to cover me didn't turn up or something. And she was not having anything. She was just raging that I hadn't turned up. So she was expecting, and it wasn't here going to listen to any aspect of it. And I remember like she's shouting at me on the front of the shop. Like, it's really, even at 17, I was like, this isn't what should happen at McDonald's. And but she's not having anything I was going to say. And then I remember the feeling of getting back the next shift and thinking, and seeing her again, like, and thinking, I'm not scared of this situation at all, because I've done nothing wrong and she's an idiot. And even though, like, being told, like, I'm actually a really good employee. Like, I really do take, if people want me to do something, I'm quite amenable. I'll and I desperately don't want to get into trouble with people. Weirdly, like, I'm not like that in all walks, but I'm definitely, as an employee, like, I'm good. So for me, that could have been a massive trigger for anxiety, but I didn't have anything like that, because I felt absolutely certain that she was in the wrong. So that's an example of being in a situation where you're criticized, but you're free from it emotionally. And I remember walking past her in the corridor and actually walking tall and saying good morning to her when she was trying to blank me, and feeling so in control, even though I'm the 17-year-old kid. And it was all based on the fact that in my head, I was absolutely certain I'd done nothing wrong. And that she'd actually been quite badly behaved, and therefore I was free of the issue.
So you didn't feel the need to get it in there and just to say, oh, by the way, Jocelyn, we didn't finish our conversation the other day. I was right.
Well, I think it's probably something to do with the fact that she, in my mind, had lowered her status so much by losing control on the shop floor that I felt in control of it, which is very odd because she was the manager of the whole shop. But yeah, but that, I mean, I'm just trying to think of an example. I'll use that as an example of why I wouldn't be stressed out by it. In fact, if anything, I felt good about it. So if you can get to the situation where you think that person at ballet is such an idiot, and every time they open their mouth in it, they just reveal so much ignorance what they're talking about, that it's actually embarrassing for them when they start talking.
And you can walk tall.
Yeah, because that's like that. It is possible to get to that stage, because that's exactly at the stage I'm at. If someone starts going on about me, about how everyone is, I'm like, you know nothing about my business and how I approach these things, because it's a million miles from what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, like, good luck to you, but you're talking about some other problem in some other clinic, not me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so solid about that it's like your opinion is, it's useful. It's nice to know how people think on these issues, because I can build that into my marketing.
Well, on that thing, you say that you're going to use the negative energy to your benefit and sort of recycle it. There's a nice postscript here, which is because it's been so many weeks since Jenny put this across to me. She's told me today, when I asked her if we could talk about it again, she says, I've not let these people get me down, and instead do what I always do, channel my pain into productivity. Yes, love it. Let's see whether anyone is commenting. Oh, here Holly says, I promote my business as something not to change people, but to enhance who they already are. Just like having nails done and their hair dyed, getting rid of grays, etc. So far, I've had no criticism at all. Interesting. Yeah. It's a whole other topic, but Tim did an amazing video. If anyone feels a little bit insecure, or you feel like people are criticizing you, you don't quite know what to say about aesthetics, then tag me and I will tag you in an amazing video that Tim did on it, which has the same vibe as what Holly's saying. More confident.
The maybe right, maybe wrong thing is, I think that's a way of separating the issue from your identity. Because at the heart of when I felt the most stressed about someone's opinion of me, it's when it's in an area where I'm not actually sure that they're wrong. Like then there's some work to do about crystallizing what it is, like, because it is possible in life to end up in a situation where you're doing something that's actually against one of your values. It may not be your primary one, but there's a little area where you're a bit hypocritical. And that if someone spots that, or if they're even remotely close to it, you're like, oh my God, could this be true? Could I actually be a flawed human being? Fine, So sometimes you change tack, or sometimes you have to change the way that you basically have to go in and delve in and crystallize who you are, and then you become more resilient to that criticism, because you think, I can see why you could think that, but that's not me, and I do it in a different way.
Yeah. So
and then it goes. Yeah. Then you become free of it once that is integrated into you.
So you almost, once you've sorted it out in your mind, you buy the Zen, because you're like, oh, whereas. But it may be just that you need to shine a light on it for yourself. It may not be that you think it's like a dirty secret, or you might just genuinely not have asked yourself those questions, so you're more susceptible. Jenny says, hi loves, Tim is spot on with the complexity. It's less to do with the aesthetics, as I'm super confident with my why, but more to do with the social exclusion element, which is like having been kind of punted by.
Oh, that's interesting, because so that's more like, I mean, we also want more friends in our area. So you might have a desire, you want to integrate with the mums, and of course you do. Like, you want your kids to have that integration. So exclusion is one of the most threatening things you can do to a human being. Particularly, I think women who are more into the tribe, rather and less individualistic. As a rule, that's not for everyone. But yeah, that's super stressful. I've heard that as being, it's one of the main reasons why suicide rates amongst teenage girls are going up, particularly in America. It's that it's so easy to exclude someone socially on using social media. So I'm just not liking people's posts is enough to drive people a bit mad, because exclusion is so linked with survival that the anxiety is super high when you think the tribe might exclude you. So that's interesting, because it's actually nothing to do with what Jenny thinks about herself. There's a threat there it's like walking off a cliff. Like, doesn't matter what your self-esteem is, you can still fall off that cliff.
Interesting.
So,
but I do actually think, therefore, knowing what we know about Jenny's situation, which is that she moved her daughter's school, I think that sounds like that was a really good solution then, because you just buy yourself a whole new.
Yeah, it's going to come up. There'll always be that threat of being excluded by the tribe, though.
I know, but it's just unlucky. I think it's just unlucky.
Yeah. I suppose the ninja way of dealing with it is to, there is, what's that? Keep your friends close and your enemies even closer. You just, if you think someone is in that way inclined, you just have a good conversation about stuff that boosts her self-esteem temporarily, so that at least she's not an enemy. You may never be best friends, but you try and have that kind of conversation. But you can't win them all.
No.
There is the dickhead ratio.
The dickhead ratio, yeah. Can't really win all the dickheads over. Anyway, off topic, my loves. Right, that was interesting, wasn't it? It was quite, didn't know where it was going to go. And then Tim turned on me halfway through, and then I was quite enjoying that, getting coached briefly. So I hope that's been of some use, my loves. Drop us a 2 if you're watching this in 13 and a half weeks' time with you, Brecky. I love the 2s. And I hope that's been of some use. Please do drop us a comment below about anything else that you would like us to tackle on the lives, or inbox me or whatever. See you then, my darlings. Take care.
Good night. Bye.
Thanks for watching.